It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chilliefalls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast. On this, the second day of July, 2025, coming to you from my studio in Bedford County, Virginia, Forest, Virginia area. And I'm just trying to check here to make sure that I am on the air. I had few technical issues this morning, but it seems like I'm where I'm supposed to be. So anyway, I noticed in the chat room that Hot Air Tom is back over at Kennedy Space Center. He says that there's a live thing with an astronaut here this morning. I said, sure. I've heard that excuse before. So Hot Air Tom's not going to be in the audience until later. He said he listened on replay. He could interview the astronaut. That'd be fine. We'd have it for a Friday show. Just so long as he doesn't ask about how to stow away on that damn rocket. It's the main thing for Hot Air Tom to do. Wouldn't that be something if he could interview the astronaut? That would be terrific. All right, so I'm really excited about today's show, folks. By the way, today's show was brought to you by Will U.S., the owner of Scoot Around, and by chilliescruises. And this is Wednesday, July the 2nd. Did I say that? I might not have. Anyway, we do have some news this morning. Of course, we got to talk about weather and Flossie. I have to talk about Flossie mostly for our friend in Mississippi. She likes the name. But actually, there's some ships that are dodging Flossie. Cons bans large cruise ship. Measles vaccination in Honduras. Some of you might have heard about this yesterday. I got some real questions about that. Carnival drops Pepsi for Coke. They used to have Coke. The last Carnival cruise I went on, I had to drink Pepsi. I can drink Diet Pepsi. That's not the end of the world for me. I much prefer Diet Coke. So, I'm going on a Carnival cruise this fall, and I'm glad that they're going to have Diet Coke. So, Royal Caribbean has another window shatter. There's something amiss with that. 3 men were sentenced for rape. That was on an MSC ship last year. TSA adds a military lane at 10 airports. That's terrific. Hats off to them for a good move. Starts today at 10 airports. We'll talk about that a little bit. And lots more live here at 11 o'clock this morning. For all of our friends north of the border, today is Happy Canada Day. And I've told this story on the show several times. If you remember the story, just ignore the next minute. I was in Halifax on the 1st of July one year. And my girlfriend at the time that I traveled with, that was before the fallout happened. But we walked into Halifax, turned up the hill. If you've been to Halifax, you'll know what I'm talking about. Up, I don't know, 1 or 2 blocks up the hill, and then turned back down toward the city, and found a nice little local bar and restaurant, which is, I'm apt to do at most any port. This was before I was in the chair. I was walking still. But they had a parade, which came right past that bar. And we were the only Americans in the place. It was all Canadians. And I had the most fun I've ever had in my life and never thought I'd enjoy watching a parade in another country. But it was terrific. And it ended up, we were talking to everybody in the world in there. We just had such a good time. So that was my experience with O Canada Day. I wish I could celebrate the holiday with you. So, of course, we got the 4th coming up there in a couple days. I guess Canada Day was that yesterday? I don't know. Whichever day it is. I wasn't on the air yesterday. So this day in history in 1937, Amelia Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan were last heard from over the Pacific Ocean, and they never did hear from them again. If you're a podcast person, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Just search for travel and cruise industry news, and up pops the old fat guy. Well, we do this on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Then other days, I watch for anything major happening in the news world, and I'm apt to go on at drop of a hat. Something big happens. Or when I'm traveling, we always have totally screwed up schedules between excursions and traveling. And, so I'll always get some missed when I'm traveling. But basically, that's what we try to do. Okay, so tomorrow I am going to be totally out of touch. First thing tomorrow morning, a little better than dark 30. I got to leave here at dark 30. I have to be in Roanoke. It's about an hour to where I'm going in Roanoke, an hour and 20 minutes or so, to take my wheelchair, my C2, into the shop. It either has, everybody thinks from what I've been able to gather, either the battery is dead or the charger is dead. Now, the difference is if it's a charger, it's only going to cost me $60. If it's the battery on that bad boy, it's going to cost me like $700. So you know what I'm rooting for. But anyway, so we're going to take care of that, get the chair back going, and then I got to hop back in the car and haul butt back to Lynchburg because I've got my pulmonary CT tomorrow afternoon at 2:00. And that's one of the important ones for this round of testing. So tomorrow's going to be a busy day. I'll report back on all that on Friday. So, and anything else that happens. All right. I have been excited for some time about today. We have a special guest. I did some, promotion of it this morning using her real name, which is Sandy Gilbreath. Some of you might not know her by her name. She also has a website, My Sandy Trail. She is a mother. She is a caregiver, a travel companion. She's probably best known as being the mother to Curb Free with Corey Lee, and now his caregiver, which I think puts her into the atmosphere of being probably the most popular, well-known caregiver in the world today. It was fun to interview her yesterday. We'll do it again. I thoroughly enjoyed it. With no further ado, here's my special guest, Sandy. All right, so this is Sandy Gilbreath. Sandy, welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast for the first time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about this today. I appreciate this.
All right, so everybody knows we always try to be as transparent as possible. Sandy wears about 15 hats. She is probably the world's most famous caregiver.
Oh,
Or
good.
if she's not, she's one of them.
You're being very generous.
She is obviously a mom. She is from down there in Georgia. She's up in the northwest corner of Georgia and is more southern than I am, but that's okay. She is a travel companion, a world traveler. She's been in more countries than I have, which is saying something. And of course, she is Curb Free with Corey Lee's mom. So I'm tickled that you agreed to do this. So we're going to talk about caregiving.
All right, I'm ready. Okay, thank you for that introduction.
Let's go back a couple years ago. You're in a little kind of small town, Georgia.
Right.
How did you go from Georgia to a world traveler caregiver? How was that transition?
It has been the craziest, wildest ride ever. And every day I tell my son, Corey, I'm like, every day I feel like we are winning the grand prize on Wheel of Fortune. I mean, that's what it feels like. I mean, it's been crazy. But I mean, just to put it all kind of into perspective, I always tried my best to raise Corey that I didn't want him to focus on his disability at all. I wanted him to focus on what he could do. So growing up, I tried to encourage him to be in plays, be in student government, be in, whatever clubs he desired, community theater. I tried to push as much as I could to help him to feel included in society as a whole. So as he got older, he wanted to go off to college, and my whole family was reluctant. And my dad, my mom, they're like, how can he go off and not be under your wings like he's always been, me taking care of him. But as I pushed him into college, and he wanted to go, I didn't push him, he wanted to go, but I encouraged him, follow that dream. And he went looking for a job after college. He wasn't really having any luck. And as he started the blog and it grew and grew, it became more than just a hobby after college. It became a full-time career. And we've been to tons of places I could have never afforded, never even dreamed it would be possible.
Did he go to college without a caregiver?
He went without me, which was what hurt me so bad. But no, he had a caregiver at college. And actually the girl that went off to college with him was one of his best friends all through elementary, middle, and high school. And once he was ready to graduate high school and started talking about college, she said, I want to go with Corey. Like, she had been there. She even drove him and his prom date to the prom. I'm like, that's how close friends that they were. Yeah. She wanted to take care of him at college. And so she did. Her mom and I moved them into college in Washington, D.C. for that first year. And it was 9 hours from home. And I cried that whole drive back to Georgia to leave him there with her. Even though I was comfortable, I knew her. Still, she was a kid too, to me, in my eyes. So it was scary, but he survived, and he graduated with a degree in marketing.
All right. So now you come back and he starts the blog business.
Right.
And that leads into starting travel.
Right.
Then did you move back into the picture as the caregiver?
Well, after not at first. When he graduated, he couldn't find a job. They weren't seeing past the wheelchair, he felt like, and so was I. It was getting kind of a depressing period there after job interviews of getting turned away. So he asked after his graduation, he was like, can I just move back home till I can kind of find a career or find what I'm going to do, because he was getting turned down in so many avenues. And I was like, of course, come back home. So yes, I was becoming his primary caregiver again. But as he started, when the blog started growing, we did try to hire outside caregivers. I mean, that was never my goal, was to be there 24/7 and travel the world with him. I wanted him to be independent as possible. We just weren't finding any luck with someone that we could trust, someone that was dependable in that role. So,
and the biggest problem is dependability. So,
that's the main problem. Yeah, I mean, it came all the way down to his first big trip overseas. We did hire someone. She watched me give him a shower, get him up, get him dressed. Like, she came to our house several visits to the point that we were all comfortable. But then the week before the big trip overseas, she texted actually and said, I can't do this. And then I was working a full-time job. I had to ask off work, and I was like, we got to make this happen. I got to go. And so I did, and I've went ever since. Yeah.
All right. So now you're back in the situation where, I mean, you have your own blog, your own social media network.
Yeah.
By the way, folks, she just said 20,000 followers, which that's awesome.
Thank you so much. I was very excited for that.
Oh, yeah. That's where I found out that you were Southern, because you were so excited talking about the 20,000. And I said, damn, she's more Southern than I am. So,
yeah, my accent is hard to hide. I'm trying to talk plain and as quickly as I can, but I do have that slow Southern drawl.
Oh, yeah. No, don't do that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, my Virginia twang is a little different than your Georgia's, but what the hell?
Right. As long as you can understand me, right?
Oh, sure. All right. So now you're back in the caregiving game.
Right.
Now, obviously, you and Corey have a special relationship. You have to have a special relationship for you to do what you do for your son.
Yeah, I agree.
What is the hardest thing that you have to do now as a caregiver?
I think the hardest thing now as a caregiver is probably, I don't know, I think kind of pushing outside my comfort zone and just saying, okay, yeah, I'm excited, let's go. Because really deep down, I'm thinking, and these trips sound amazing, but somehow these trips they're wonderful. I'm not complaining, but they all fall back on me to make sure he's up, he's on time, he's dressed, he's bathed, showered. Like, there's a lot of stress that goes with that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want him to succeed, but as smart and intelligent as he is and as hard as he works for all that he has accomplished, it still falls back on me to make sure that he's physically there and able to produce that day of the content that people are asking him to do.
And I suppose it takes somebody in the disabled community to understand where you're coming from. And I can't say that I'm lucky. I don't have the need for a full-time caregiver, thank goodness, at this point.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
It's probably coming. But the last 4 months, I was gone basically for 4 months, and I traveled with someone who became a de facto caregiver, which had its highlights and it had its low points.
Yeah.
And one thing, I'm not used to it. I'm used to doing everything solo.
Right.
But I'm still ambulatory for 6, maybe 7 steps, and that's it. If I go any further than that, even with I keep oxygen right here.
Yeah.
Because to stand up and walk across the room, I got to have it. 6 or 7 steps is as far as I can go, even with oxygen.
Right.
So I'm pretty much, and definitely when I'm traveling, I'm in a chair full time.
Yeah.
So I'm very attuned, and I work hard with folks on cruise ships on trying to make them more accessible. Do you find still that there's a lot of issues for you guys to overcome as far as barriers?
Oh yeah. I mean, as far as the world has came just in the 10, 12 years we've been traveling, I mean, it's greatly improved in that amount of time. But every day, every hotel, every cruise ship, every trip we go on, when we go out of our home, we're going to find an issue. I mean, it's going to come. It might be small, it might be large, but we have to just be prepared for whatever it is as best we can and take it with I always say, there's just issues that need resolved. There's going to be problems, but we got to find a solution.
Yeah, find a solution somehow.
You have to.
I have the same attitude. All right. So, how?
I think your sound just went out. I think it's muted. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Okay,
yeah, that should be better. Thank you. I bumped the wire and it pulled the plug out.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go from ground zero. A decision or a call comes in and says, Corey, we want you in Tokyo.
Oh yeah.
All right. What's the decision-making process like? Okay. I mean, not counting the money.
Right.
Whether to go or not go. Tell me about that.
Right. Well, usually, or always, the email will come into Corey. He is working all day, looking at emails. I'm kind of doing whatever else in the house. When the email comes in and he's excited, he'll say, oh my gosh, guess what? And I'm like, I can't even imagine what. Sometimes I'm like, I'm scared to ask. I'm like, what? And he's like, well, I just got an email, where they're wanting us to come to Tokyo. And he's always 100% of the time super excited. He's immediately checking his calendar. Can we make those dates work that they're wanting us to come? But me, on the other hand, I'm trying to be positive, but I'm like, well, when is it? What month? Is it cold there? Do we need big sweaters? Are we going to, because he can't really function good in cold weather. So I'm automatically thinking, my mind goes to all those caregiving things of, how am I going to pack all these sweaters in this cold month? Or how is he's going to be so cold, his hands freeze up. He's not able to drive his wheelchair. And then I have to push him. And like, I'm in my mind thinking all these things. And then sometimes I'm wondering, how close is it to our last trip prior to that? Do I have 3 days at home to unpack and wash those clothes again and get everything prepared again? Or is it a week? Is it 2 weeks in between? But always 100% of the time, he's ready to go. I mean, if we're home more than 2 days, he's ready. But me, I'm the one kind of second guessing things and kind of keeping things in perspective, I guess.
Well, after being gone for 4 months, I'm now at home until October. Now I've got a ton of medical stuff that I'm catching up on.
Yeah, there's a lot to catch up sometimes.
But I'm rather enjoying the fact that, at least some days I don't have to get up and kill myself.
Right.
Which is kind of nice. I mean, I do my show on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yeah. So I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning those days. Because I mean, I gotta see what's happened in the world in Europe and the world in Asia, and if there's anything news-wise to use on the show that day.
Right.
So I'm enjoying having some time at home. Unfortunately, my damn chair just broke.
Oh no!
So I got to deal with that tomorrow. And then just before I sent the link to you, I've got a lens that it ain't in his glasses.
Oh my goodness! I didn't even notice. Oh my goodness!
I have no idea where it is. Haven't seen it. Didn't hear it fall out.
That is awful. Well, I can find it.
I'm okay for this, but I'm going to have a hell of a time reading script for tomorrow. That'll be a tough one. But anyway, yeah, we'll make it work.
That's
So,
right.
all right. What is the easiest thing you have to do in dealing as a caregiver?
The easiest thing is traveling the world, of course, and seeing my son or spend time with my son living out his dream. I mean, I guess it was my dream too. I just never even dreamed it was possible to see all the places we've seen.
Yeah.
But to see him live out his life with a career that he loves, that he enjoys, that he's helping other people to see what is possible, that's the greatest joy in my caregiving experience, is just being able to take care of him so that he can do those things.
And I've dealt with a lot. I've never actually talked with Corey. I've never been in the same space.
Yeah.
You know, we've never conversed about anything. I've talked, obviously, with a number of folks that you guys know. It's amazing to me, and I consider myself in one of those numbers that look up to Corey. He's like on a pedestal to a lot of us.
Oh my goodness.
Want to emulate what he does. So,
yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. I am happy to hear when we meet other families, like at conferences. We just got back from the Abilities Expo in Chicago, and we did a book signing. He and I had wrote a children's book together a few years ago, and we did a book signing there. And all the families coming up and just telling him, you know, about the trips they've been on, because they saw that we went there and they read his blog post about it and knew what was possible. And I mean, it is so heartwarming just to see how much of an impact it's made.
Yeah. That's so many of us, that's what we live for. I mean, for me to go out and somebody to say, you know, if that old fat cripple guy can do this, damn it, so can I. And that's exactly right. Let's get off your butt and let's figure out how to do it and get you going. So
that's right. Just get them out there. There's so many things to see and do, and just to have something to look forward to, and to, even if things do go wrong, they might have went wrong at home too. Just get out there and see something new.
Probably so.
They would have.
All right, Sandy, what's next for you guys?
Next, we are home for a couple of weeks, which we are enjoying. We've not had that long of a time at home in a while, so I'm enjoying that time. And then we are headed off to a curb-free group trip in Italy, which is where we're going to spend 2 weeks there with a group of his followers and their families, and to tour around Italy. Yeah.
I just got back. That was the end of my 4 months away. I didn't get to spend any time in Rome, but I love Naples. Naples was probably my favorite.
I've heard it's gorgeous. We've not been.
It's a decent roll in most places.
Yeah.
Found a couple nice pizza joints. Matter of fact, I did a pizza review on the sidewalk pizza joint in Naples.
Wow.
So yeah. Have you been to Italy before?
We have. Yeah. We did Rome and Venice a few years ago, but we've not seen anything other than that. So.
Yeah, I like Italy. So, well, Sandy, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. I wanted people to get a feel of what it's like to be a caregiver.
Well, thank you so much.
One other question.
Yeah.
I know you're going to Italy. How far ahead do you guys work? How far are you booking stuff ahead?
Well, this particular trip, because it was a curb-free trip, it's a year in advance. So Corey started planning it last year. And honestly, he does all the planning, all the tour, everything. I mean, any trip we go on, he's working this group trip with Will the World, or if it's with a destination, he's working with the destination. Yeah. And I'm usually just like, where are we going? What time are we supposed to be there? Like, he's already planned it all. So that's kind of how that works. But usually on a normal trip, if it's just we're working with a destination to showcase what they have there that's wheelchair accessible, then it usually starts a few months ahead of time, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months at the most. But It's usually within the same year.
Yeah. Have you had any problems on airplanes with the chair?
Oh gosh, every time. I mean, not every time. I don't want to scare people away from flying. It's not every time, but it's way too often.
Yeah.
It's never been so bad that it ruined the trip. We didn't let it ruin the trip, but it could have for a lot of people. I mean, one time we arrived in Egypt. It's last year or year before. His front right wheel had been broken off.
Oh
And
my.
I just had to kind of MacGyver. I got some butter knives in the hotel lobby. I travel with duct tape. So I duct taped some butter knives to make a splint for the wheel to hold it on. So I got creative. We held it on until the next day. And then we're able to find a wheelchair company there that was able to fix it within a few hours. And we were back on the trail again.
Rolling. Oh, that's cool.
I mean,
that's awesome. I've been lucky and I've had minor damage. My biggest problem with airplanes is I've always loved to fly.
Yeah.
I know you can't tell, but I'm a big fat guy and I am so totally uncomfortable on a damn airplane. The seats are this big and I'm this big. It just doesn't work out very well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a great flyer either. I usually try to just sleep the whole time. I get a little motion sick. I don't throw up or anything like that, but I do get kind of dizzy headed and just want to go to sleep till it's over. Corey, on the other hand, he's all in. He's ready to watch 10 movies and get a blanket and just ready to enjoy it all, but not me.
Yeah. Well, my weakness, as soon as I get the stewardess comes by, you have those little bottles of bourbon, bring me one. I'm ready for a cocktail.
I watch people like you and I'm like, how can they drink right now? I'm already kind of dizzy headed and kind of, oxygen and the elevation differentiation. I'm like, I don't know about this.
I've never had a problem with air sickness or flying or motion sickness or seasickness. I mean, I go through the worst storms in the world and think nothing of it. And I started cruising back, hell, before you were born, probably. I started cruising in the 70s.
Wow.
And I mean, back then they didn't have, the stabilizers and azipods and crap that they have today. So when a storm came up, I mean, you'd get banged on the walls, walking down the corridors.
Yeah.
Never bothered me.
Oh my goodness. So, we went to Antarctica a few years ago and went through the Drake Passage. And oh my gosh. I mean, Corey, he was living his best life that night. I mean, he was actually on a drinking tour, like around the ship, having a grand old time. And I was in the bed in the room. Luckily, we took a friend with us, so they were out having a good time where I could lay down. But there was dishes falling off of the buffet. There was people in the floor. It was so rough. It even emptied the swimming pool. The water was so rough that night.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. I don't want to do that again.
All right. Well, one thing to make sure on your scheduling, don't go to England in January.
Oh, cold.
England and France in January, February, that sucked.
I can imagine.
I froze to death.
Yeah.
So
we did Finland one year, and I mean, snow was so deep, and I froze absolutely to death. Yeah.
All right, Sandy, thank you so much. I do appreciate this. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you asking. I had a good time.
Okay, Sandy. Thanks a lot. I'll get back to the news now.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Let me make sure that I think I'm broadcasting again, that I didn't blank off. I enjoy Sandy. That was terrific. I enjoyed doing the interview last night. I thought of immediately, I don't take notes. So I should probably make notes before I do these interviews because I thought of about 10 more questions to ask her. So we'll definitely do that again. All right, guys, I'll be back with a whole bunch of stuff yet today after a quick break from one of those fine network sponsors. Okay, so I mentioned that Hot Air Tom is over at the Kennedy Space Center trying to get on a rocket or whatever. I guess it was sitting where he watches them shoot them off and whatever. Said he had a good film of that on the Nikon that he'll send me. So I guess Friday we'll have a rocket shooting off from Hot Air Tom. And the other day we started off with some clips from Rochelle down in South Africa. So I've got another piece put together from Rochelle. Now, unfortunately, folks, that's some lions that were feasting on an antelope. That, of course, is the center for the selfie again. Water buffalo decides he's going to fight with a car. Oh, yeah. Let's try to determine who's the best. If I'm not mistaken, those are elands. You know what those are? That's the lions feeding on the poor antelope. But you see how close these people are. I mean, they're right on top of these critters. There's my buddy again, up there in the air. I love giraffes.
Oh, there's people coming on the light as well.
Yeah, I don't want to run into him in the water. There's the big elephant. I didn't mean to have Hot Air Tom still in there. Let's get rid of Hot Air Tom. Yeah, erase Hot Air Tom. There we go. All right, so thanks to Rochelle for doing the extra work to send me all those clips from her safari experiences there in South Africa. That went over several days, by the way. And I'm hoping while she's home this time to try to get her on the telephone. You know, she won't come on the show. I'll keep working on that. But maybe I can get her on the phone and pick her brain a little bit. All right, that's Rochelle Salerno, who's done just a ton of traveling. All right, so let's get on with the news portion of today's show. We have to start off today with some weather, so let's start with what's closest to us. We do have one system this morning to mention in the Atlantic Basin. It's an area of low pressure that could develop near the southeast U.S. Atlantic or Gulf Coast by this weekend along a weakening frontal boundary. Environmental conditions appear only marginally conducive for some slow development, but a tropical or subtropical depression could form in this region over the weekend or early next week. While the system moves very little, regardless of development, heavy rainfall is possible across portions of the southeast U.S., particularly across west central Florida coast. Formation chance over the next 48 hours is very low. However, over the next 7 days, it's about 40%. The important part of the weather today, however, is in the Pacific. In the Pacific, Hurricane Flossie It currently has maximum sustained winds of 115 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure is 962 millibars. It's located a couple hundred miles off the coast of Mexico, moving to the west-northwest at 10 miles an hour. The outer bands of Hurricane Flossie continue to bring locally heavy rainfall to coastal portions of the Mexican states of Michoacan, Colima, and Jalisco. Through the day today, localized flash flooding is possible. Large swells generated by Flossie will cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions along portions of the coast of southwestern Mexico and the Baja Peninsula during the next couple of days. The interesting thing is that right behind it is another system, literally, almost touching Hurricane Flossie. It is an area of low pressure forecast to develop several hundred miles offshore in the next few days. Environmental conditions appear conducive for gradual development of this system, and a tropical depression could form over the weekend or early next week while it moves generally west-northwestward. Very little chance over the next 48 hours, but over the next 7 days, it jumps up to 50%. So another storm will follow Flossie in all likelihood. Since Tropical Storm Flossie is now strengthened into an official Category 1 hurricane, both Carnival Panorama and Carnival Firenze have adjusted their itineraries to steer clear of the rough weather. While both ships are well away from the storm center and its projected track, the rough waves and strong winds generated by Hurricane Flossie can easily impact Cabo San Lucas. That popular port of call is on both ships' current itineraries. Carnival Panorama spent yesterday in Cabo, but today will be at sea with extra entertainment and activities added to ensure plenty of fun for everyone. Carnival Firenze will spend 2 days in Ensenada, canceling Thursday in Cabo. A couple other ships to just keep your eye on. Ovation of the Seas is currently scheduled to call at Cabo on Sunday the 6th. While no official changes have been announced yet, cruise lines are still monitoring Flossie's trajectory. The itinerary will see some changes if the storm's path poses a threat to the port. Navigator of the Seas is another Royal Caribbean ship scheduled for Cabo on Sunday, July the 6th, as the first stop on a 7-day cruise out of Long Beach. Just like Ovation of the Sea, changes are very possible. This ship also has Puerto Vallarta stops that could be affected. And also, Oceania Insignia, the luxury ship, is scheduled for Cabo on Sunday, July the 6th. The ship is currently on the tail end of 179 world cruise ship, or 179-day world cruise that began in Miami on January 5th. The stop in Cabo is part of a 20-day sailing from San Diego to New York that is scheduled to begin on July the 3rd. At any rate, folks, just keeping a lookout for Hurricane Flossie. The 4th of July is all about independence, and a new mobility device gives you the freedom to go wherever you want. Shop for scooters, wheelchairs, power chairs, walking aids, and more in our online mobility store and save 12%. This offer is valid until July the 6th. Use SRN 11137, code July 12 to get 12% off statewide. Shop online or call 844-664-7467 for the Scooter Round 4th of July sale. Cannes is banning large cruise ships starting next year. The French city will no longer permit vessels transporting more than 1,000 guests to enter its harbor starting January 1st, or a total of 6,000 guests from all ships. Cruise travelers with sailings to Honduras in the coming months may need to present proof of measles vaccination, or they could be denied the opportunity to visit the Central American nation. The U.S. Embassy in Honduras has issued the notification of the requirement, which specifically includes the language of by sea that could indicate cruise travelers must have the vaccination. If travelers have not received the vaccine, they must show proof of a negative measles test 72 to 80 hours before arriving in Honduras. Now, I have some questions from this, folks. Didn't we take a measles vaccination when we were children in this country? And is that still considered good? And how do we prove it? I don't have proof of vaccines when I was a child. I mean, hell, that was 75 years ago. Anyway, currently there's no requirements of measles vaccinations on any cruise. That could change tomorrow, but currently it's not required. Soda brands can inspire intense loyalty, so much so that which brand is available on board a cruise ship can be of great concern to some travelers. For Carnival cruisers, Pepsi has been the onboard option since January of 2020. Coca-Cola lovers can soon rejoice, however, as Carnival Cruise Line has now announced it will be switching back to Coke products. I, for one, am very happy about that, although I'll drink Diet Pepsi, but I much prefer Diet Coke. Sandals Caribbean sale. Save up to $1,000 plus a free Caribbean adventure at a Sandals Resorts. The best way to see the Caribbean is to explore it. No two islands are the same. Each island has its own rhythms, flavors, and reasons to come back. With our limited time Caribbean sale, you'll unlock a curated adventure that drops you right in the heart of whichever island you choose. That's the Sandals Caribbean sale. Save up to $1,000. Just give us a call today, 434-258-9264. A glass panel on the roof of the solarium of Symphony of the Seas suddenly shattered without warning. The ship was getting ready to dock in Port Canaveral when guests heard a loud popping sound that turned out to be glass breaking nearby. The panel that shattered was part of the crystal canopy area above the solarium, despite passengers lounging close by to where the glass broke. No injuries were reported. This is the second glass window to shatter on Symphony of the Seas in the last, week or 10 days. Three Frenchmen were sentenced on Monday by a court in Genoa for their involvement in the rape of a 19-year-old Italian student aboard an MSC cruise ship last year. The Genoa tribunal handed 10-year prison terms to two of the men, while the third received a 5-year, 4-month sentence. All three had been accused of participating in a sexual assault of the student on the cruise ship MSC Seaside during the night between May 17th and May 18th, 2024, as the ship sailed off the coast of Genoa. 10 airports located near military bases will be the first to add new TSA security lines for active duty military members, their families, and those who have lost their family members in the line of duty. This will start today. The new security lines will be added to the airports in San Antonio, Anchorage, Atlanta, Austin, Colorado Springs, El Paso, Fayetteville, Nashville, San Diego, and Seattle. How's this for a deal of the day? Enjoy the Mexican Riviera on the Carnival Firenze, sailing out of Los Angeles October the 20th. 6 nights with stops in Cabo San Lucas and Ensenada. $44 per person per day. That's right, folks. 6 nights, $44 per person per day on the Carnival Firenze out of Los Angeles. Give me a call, 434-258-9264. All right, guys, that's going to put an end to the news portion of today's show. Let's jump over real quickly in the chat room. I got about 10 minutes left. I try to cut this off at an hour when we have longer shows. And it was a pretty good show today. All right, so in the chat room, Hot Air Tom said he was going to check us out later. There's Steve out in Kentucky. Hey, Steve. Joanne's with us from Muskogee, Pennsylvania. There's Mike, says you're loud and clear. Good morning, Chillie and everyone. By the way, folks, I am doing a show on the 4th. It might be just me and Mike since you don't celebrate 4th of July over there in England. But, I'll be here. If any of you here, that's great. If nobody's here, that's fine too. Kenneth's with us. Good morning, Kenneth, up in Pennsylvania. Bob's with us, says, good morning, have a great day. There's Jamin. Hey, Jamin, how's things going? Jamin's getting ready to go up to D.C. Mike says, February's worse than January. Yeah, it is. A few years ago, I fled to Barbados every February. But I don't blame you there. Barbados is always, every time I've been there, it's been lovely weather. Some people say it's too hot, but I happen to like the hot. So Joanne says Symphony needs to get their glass issue fixed. Isn't that the truth? There's Roger saying hello from Jacksonville. Hi, Roger. All right, everybody. If you're not going to be here Friday, have a wonderful 4th of July. I wish everybody that. Now, those of you that are traveling over the 4th, be careful. And watch out for the cops are actually working. Amanda, where was Amanda? She had to come back from, she had to go to the doctor in Charlottesville yesterday. So she had to drive back from Charlottesville. She said already on 29, which is the road from Charlottesville to Lynchburg, she said the cops were thick. So that's starting in on this weekend. I think they do a good bit of all their income for the year this week. So anyway, be careful out there, guys, and enjoy the 4th. Have a great time. In the meantime, hopefully I will get everything fixed tomorrow, my body and my chair, so that maybe by the 4th, I'll be able to go out and get in the pool. That would be nice. I'm going to try it. I'm not sure I can get myself out of it yet. I have looked for lifts, and unless I want to spend $5,000, which I don't, I'm looking to see if somebody will rent them on a seasonal basis. Haven't found that yet either, but I'm searching. Before I'm going tomorrow, they do lifts as well. I might check there. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today. Once again, my extreme thanks to Sandy for joining us this morning. I don't know if anybody else enjoyed it, but I sure did. Great interview. She's so much fun. I love her accent. She's almost as good as my Scottish buddy. I love that. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a fantastic day, everybody. I'll see everybody back here on Friday. Have a great day and a great Thursday.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chilliescruises.